Hello, this is Professor Charles Jeffries, psychology professor at Seattle Central College, and this is for lifespan development class, and we left off talking about major theories of development. And we started off talking a little about Freud, Sigmund Freud. We talked about how he was id, ego, superego. And one thing that really motivated Freud a lot was Darwin's theory, particular idea that humans are animals. And Freud took the next step of humans are animals. Animals have instincts. Humans have instincts too. Okay, we also talked about id, ego, superego. You mentioned before the id is a primitive aspect of you, your raw wants and desires, and then your ego is basically go-getter. Okay, and like I mentioned before, the ego doesn't judge, it just takes care of business, and that's where the superego comes in. Okay, your conscience or some society's demands upon an individual. This segment I want to talk about Freud's stages of development, and they're called psychosexual stages. Psychosexual stages of human development. And they're oral, anal, phallic, latency, and genital. Oral stage, first year or so of life, deals with breastfeeding. And once it's all about balance, too much, not enough. If you get too much breastfeeding, you be lazy, gullible, possibly be overweight. If you don't get enough breastfeeding, you're never going to be satisfied with life. You'll probably be smoke cigarettes and possibly be thin, terms. But yeah, maybe have issues around trust. So balance, too much, not enough. Too much breastfeeding can have consequences. Not enough breastfeeding can have consequences. Okay, next stage is the anal stage. Anal stage, according to Freud, deals with potty training. Potty training, and I have to admit, potty training can be a very traumatic experience for the child, particularly because that's one of the first times that the child sees disapproval in mom's face. Okay, but think about that. Up until that point, almost everything was good. Oh, baby, nice. But now all of a sudden, and the kid looks like, wow, I've been pooping in my pants for the past a year and a half or 2 years. What's the problem today? But that pressure, okay, once again comes balance. Too much, not enough. In other words, the parents are too strict in potty training, you're obsessive compulsive, possibly a little stingy. People who are always, everything has to be in its place, super neat, super clean individuals. That was a person whose parents were really strict in potty training. On the other hand, the parents are too loose in potty training and go off and be a slob. I'm sure you've been over people's houses where just junk is all over the place, and you said you have to move trash around to sit down, or you go to the bathroom and say, well, I'll just wait until I stop at a gas station on the way home, and it looks so bad. Okay, but yeah, so too much. You can be obsessive compulsive, or Freud referred to as anal retentive, or if you're too loose potty training, parents too loose potty training, the child is going to grow up be a slob. Next stage is a phallic stage. Phallic stage is kind of where Freud got into trouble with a lot of your feminists. In other words, according to Freud, Oedipal issues kick in during the phallic stage. Oedipus was a character in Greek mythology who killed his father and married his mother. So in other words, according to Freud, what happens during the Oedipal complex is that the son or the son wants to get rid of the father so he can have the mother all to himself, and the daughter wants to get rid of the mother so she can have her father all to herself. But at some point during this time period, we're talking around three or so, at some point around 3 or 4, maybe 5, but at some point around this time period, the child has a revelation. In other words, little girls learn that she and mom do not have something dad has, and little boys learn that he and dad have something mom does not have. Therefore, according to Freud, boys go through life with fear of castration, and girls who go through life with penis envy. Okay, and then because all this information is so intense during this time period, children shut down sexually. That's what Freud referred to as a latency period, usually 7 to 11 elementary school age, where generally usually starts even in kindergarten. Children start segregating themselves according to sex. Boys hang out with the boys, girls hang with the girls. Okay, and maybe you meet them every now and then together in the blocks. But that's where, kind of, and the result of all the information, they shut down sexually during elementary school. Ask a 7-year-old boy, who's your girlfriend, and see how it responds. Okay, and then eventually the genital stage. Okay, that's genital stage. Adolescence with sexuality becomes an issue again. In other words, they open up sexuality. So those are Freud's stages: oral, anal, phallic, latency, and genital. Okay, one criticism of Freud, in retrospect, my biggest criticism of Freud is Freud never worked directly with children. He never worked with children. His entire theory was based on the recollection of his childhood and the recollection of his patient's childhood. One issue with that is, there are two issues. One issue with that is childhood memories are very unreliable to begin with. When we talk about getting memory, we'll look at that more in detail. Another issue is, even if the childhood memories were accurate, how well does this theory carry over into the general population? In other words, just because people who had, who mentioned these childhood experiences, and mostly Freud's around people, it was a pathological based theory. In other words, these people with psychological problems. And then can you generalize people with psychological problems to the general public? In other words, just because, so that's why I say, and that's another criticism, it's a pathological based theory. Based on the assumption that everybody's messed up. In a way, it just comes out of the Old Testament. Evil, id is evil, ego is a person, superego is the goodness, or up there. You see it probably in a lot of cartoons back in the 1950s. Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck, the angel will be on one shoulder, and the devil will be on the other, and the angel saying don't do something, the devil saying do it. Okay, and that's what Freud's talking. People are in constant conflict between the angel would be more or less superego, the devil will be the id, and then the person's trying to make that decision. Okay. Another criticism of Freud is that no empirical evidence. You can't prove anything he said. You can't put it into a test. You can't, can't set up an experiment to prove anything. Most of his theory is anecdotal. Well, it sounds right. It makes sense. She said, he said. Okay, and that's about it. But anyway, that's Freud. That's all I'm going to cover about Freud. And to be honest with you, 8 to 10 minutes does not really do Freud's theories justice. I mean, you can go and take classes on Freud in graduate school and take a whole year of classes on Freud's theory and still not know everything there is to know. So basically, we just kind of gave you a snapshot of Freud and psychoanalytic theory. Another individual we're going to talk about related to psychoanalytic approach is Erik Erikson. We'll talk about him in the next segment.